And what is your first name again?
I'm Kathleen King, K-I-N,
Kathleen. Okay.
with a K, K-A-T-H-L-E-E-N.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe could we go around and just introduce yourself and how you're related to this story with Yuri?
Yeah, I'll start. I'm Kamran Jahanshahi. I'm with Indivisible, Adirondack, Saratoga, and I lead the immigrant justice team.
And I'll go next. I'm Cheryl McGrattan. I am the rapid response leader at Indivisible, Saratoga Adirondack chapter. I hail from Lake George. I'm from the Queensbury, Lake George area. That makes me one of Yuri's neighbors. However, I've never met him before. And I'm currently in Fonda, New York. And my connection to Yuri is that someone came to me knowing that I was involved with Indivisible and said, oh, you're really into this kind of stuff. My aunt's favorite tenant was swept away by ICE. And I was curious and I learned a bit more. And what happened from ah, okay. What happened from there was that we led these efforts.
Okay.
And I'm Renee Roundtree. I'm one of a member of the steering committee of Indivisible ADK Saratoga. We actually encompass 3 counties. We're part of Saratoga, Washington, and Warren County. So we cover a big area all the way up into the Adirondacks. And most of our activities take place either in Glens Falls or in Saratoga Springs. And when Cheryl heard about this, knowing that Glens Falls is one of our main areas, we jumped right on it and put together a protest and started doing some research to find out who Yuri was, what his alien number was. And we started making phone calls to lawyers. And from there, it just skyrocketed into calling our senators and our representatives. We had actually met with Senator Schumer and Gillibrand back at the end of April. And one of our asks from them at that time was if a member of our community was picked up, detained, and in the process of being disappeared, would they come and speak out about it? And then I also met with Senator Schumer and Gillibrand's aides. Let's see, was it the last Monday during Indivisifest? We went over to the Capitol to meet with them. And we also, again, stressed the importance of our members in our area and immigration, the fact that we have a lot of migrant workers in this area, and that what would happen if people were picked up by ICE.
And what has been their response to this?
It has not been good at all. Actually, we've had really no response, and we've reached out to the aides multiple times. One of the aides said to the fact that what makes Yuri different, because on the day Yuri was picked up, there were over 2,200 people picked up in the US on that day. So we haven't heard much about from their offices about this. But I think Cheryl can explain a little bit more because we heard more yesterday. We got more information.
Here's the story. A week ago today, right around this time, on Tuesday, I heard that from a friend who said, my aunt is a landlord and her favorite tenant was taken by ICE. And so I said, do you need any help, or do you want any help? Now I'm in marketing, so I'm unsure of how I might be able to help. But one thing I definitely can do is help carry a story. So I reached out to the landlord and learned a bit more about him. And Yuriy has been in America for 28 years. He's a welder. He is very well regarded in the community from what we've heard. And that he has been going to regular immigration meetings. And this time he had a regular immigration meeting on Tuesday and he never came out. He has a good friend by the name of Igor, and they've welded together for years, and they've known each other for a few decades. And so we connected with Igor. Each step of the way, we were learning more about what was happening and our concern and how urgent the situation was. Really was becoming very evident. And so I, through a Facebook post from the landlord, shared that with the Indivisible group. One of the things that we've been able to do with our Indivisible group, is be very agile and respond quickly to what's happening. And upon reading the story, I'll never forget it. Renee said, "We can't just let this man disappear." And within hours, we had a protest planned. The next day I had learned that he was taken during this immigration meeting and Igor was driving him. And he said that he was waiting in the car and Yuriy never came out. And he didn't have any personal belongings with him, just the clothing on his back. And he certainly wasn't expecting, after abiding by all of the rules that and showing up for his ICE immigration meetings, that he would be abducted. So I learned that he was at the jail that is close to my home, and I went with donuts and coffee and went to go visit Yuriy, and they would not let me see him. And the response was, inmates are not allowed food from the outside. And I explained he's not an inmate. He is, being denied due process, and I would like to see him. Within 24 hours of hearing of the story, our Indivisible group was protesting in the streets of Glens Falls with signs and with chants, and we were amazed at the turnout. About 125 people quickly mobilized. They downloaded our signs. They had made their own signs. There were people carrying signs that spelled out, "Where is Yuriy?" And we got a lot of coverage for that. But what we didn't get was an answer as to why he was being denied due process.
And then he was transferred, and you knew he was being transferred to the Buffalo Detention Center in Batavia,
Yeah.
right? After that.
Yes.
And who can speak best to his, his legal situation of what we know of it? I understand that he's here on supervised temporary status, but has been so because he's unable to return to his home country of Kazakhstan, and since 2013. That's correct?
Yes. Well, he's been here longer than
Yes,
2013. Yes.
but that was when his status changed
Yeah.
to be, because he could not return to his home country.
Yeah.
His status was changed.
Right.
To
yeah.
temporary protected status
Protected
with
status.
check-ins. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
Yeah.
Is that something that Cameron can speak to, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah, so he has a a C18 classification, which
What
requires
does that,
him.
what does that mean, C18?
C18 is a class of status that the government provides in order to allow immigrants that do not have a legal status to continue staying, however, with a provision. And the provision is that they will show up for assessment and hearings in the immigration court, which he has been diligently following ever since. He was subject to that status.
Okay, so
So
that was in 2013, and I assume that at that time, so he was not documented in 2013, but at that point in time, he now becomes here legally and is a documented resident of the area.
So actually, a C-18 is not a legal status. I was
Okay.
told by a lawyer.
It's a
It's an
temporary status.
employment authorization category for individuals who have a final order or of removal, but have not been removed or cannot be removed because their country of nationality will not accept the individual. And that's what we found out, that Kazakhstan will not take him back. And so then he becomes under an order of supervision, and he's to report to ICE periodically. And in doing that, he was to report twice a year, and the C-18 gives him the opportunity to work within the United States.
Okay. I don't know, but that sounds legal to me, that he's allowed to be here. You know, that sounds like
and
he has
a work
legal,
permit. He has a
legal
work
status
permit,
and a work permit.
right?
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. And do we know if he has been able to obtain counsel at this point?
Well, we're happy to say that we have secured an attorney who is willing to advocate on his behalf. I will tell you that that simple task of securing an attorney took hours and hundreds of phone calls. And so Cameron had an amazing idea to set up a phone bank because we literally had so much work to do. We had to secure attorneys. We had to reach out to elected officials. We had to find his employer. He was supposed to start a job on Monday. They went to work, and because of our outreach, we were able to secure an attorney, and we spoke with him this morning.
Okay, that's great. Do you know, my understanding is that there's some sort of hearing that's going to happen on Thursday or some sort of.
No, as a matter of fact, he's not expected to appear in front of a judge. It is what we're hearing is that he's meeting with not with an immigration
Deportation officer.
a deportation officer. And Yuriy, he did call me and 2 nights ago. It was very exciting for me to speak to this man that I've been advocating for. He's lost 7 pounds. We have sent him money in Batavia using the prison's system so that he could buy additional foods. And he has not, that we know of, been given access to that money. We've sent him packages that he has not received. And so we're very concerned about his well-being in Batavia.
My understanding is also that the concern will be because Kazakhstan has denied him entry. If he's deported, he's going to go to a country that has absolutely no relevance to him.
A third country.
Is that what we're fearing?
Yeah,
So,
I'm not sure. One of the problems is that because we're being denied any access to him, and because he's being denied due process, we are left to put together pieces of a puzzle, and
right.
it's incredibly frustrating. It doesn't seem like the America that I know.
Yes. When you said that the senator's aide was saying, well, how is this different? To me, that point is that it's not. He just happens to have people advocating, and isn't that sad? So that doesn't mean we shouldn't keep trying by any stretch. So that makes me a little bit angry, actually. I'm sure that you voiced that as well. It's he's different because we care about him, but he's not different in the sense that other people care about every single person that's being taken.
And I think Cameron can speak to the importance of being denied due process, no matter what your background is, no matter what's happened, and what that means for all immigrants, for our neighbors.
I think
to me, the critical side of this whole thing is the constitutional right of due process, right? And no, I'm not a lawyer, but I did reach out to a friend lawyer, and what I learned is that due process is crucial because it ensures fundamental fairness and protects individuals from arbitrary government action, which is exactly what we are seeing being taken right now, these arbitrarily government action. It requires the government to follow established rules and procedures before depriving anyone of life, liberty, and property. And so it's not just the immigrants. What I'm fearful is that if we let this due process be sidetracked, what is it going to be that any US citizen can be told that, well, you are not going to be afforded your right of due process? Another interesting thing to learn and to be really proud as US citizens is how due process is different in this country over other ones, right? And the concept of due process in this country exists in our legal system, and it is explicit in our constitutional protection and the dual focus on both procedural and substantive due process. No other country has this. Like United Kingdom, Canada, for example, they provide similar protections, but often through a statute or common law. So for me personally, I think this fight needs to, yes, ask for Yuri's right and hopefully see him released and go back to his normal life. But as importantly, is to advocate for due process and make sure that we voice that as a critical component of this fight that we are running. One other thing that really angsts me is not just the fact that our US representative senators are saying what's different about this one. We're also hearing from state representatives that are saying, well, that's a federal matter I'm not going to get involved with. Since when due process became a federal matter only, it is as much of a state matter as it is federal matter. And it is worrisome that we have to educate our elected officials on our Constitution. They need to be voicing that. They need to be standing up and talking about it. They need to say that they are concerned that our present administration is working to abolish due process. And I'm not hearing that. They're like crickets. Either that or they're really afraid. Which, if they're afraid, they shouldn't be in politics.
Yes. I often think about, if anybody has been a citizen of this country since they were a child, how many times have you said the Pledge of Allegiance? And it ends with liberty and justice
Justice
for
for
all, and that's not what we're having. That's the fundamental of due process right there. And without it, we really can't have a democracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there, I know we are going to try to go forward, and there's people in the Batavia area that are working on a protest to try to bring more attention to it. We've done some call scripts and email scripts that are, have already happened and are being sent out from many of our members, and we're going to try to broaden that as well. Is there anything else in particular that you can see that might be helpful here?
What we are hearing is that contacting the senators, the Congress people, and state officials, no matter their party affiliation, and asking for his release. At the very least, someone put eyes on him and make sure that he is okay. At the very least, make sure that he has food, and so we are asking members from Indivisible and from other organizations to contact their elected officials and keep telling this story. This was a story that was told to me as a nursing aide was helping my father. Never underestimate the power that you have to bring the story forward of people who may not have power. We are asking for due process and for our Constitution to be held up for all people who are in America.
The attorney, I don't know exactly how this piece is working because I know he hasn't gone to see him yet, but he has filed some type of papers. So hopefully they know at the detention center also that he is now being represented. And yes, our fear is that he will be sent to El Salvador.
And you said that somebody told me anyway that there were 3 others that are kind of in the same boat that have no place to go, and they're also in the same, detention center under the same
Circumstances.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Yuriy told Cheryl when he was speaking to her, that he wasn't the only one there. And I did say that to Senator Gillibrand's or Senator Schumer's aide, that it's a case much like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was sent off without due process, and they said it was an error. And he was fortunately, after a long time, brought back. But how can we even let this happen that somebody gets out? We need to stop it now. And not
I don't think this was an error from what I can tell. This is this is something that they're going around picking these particular status people who cannot return to their country and are here under protection of that they may be possibly tortured if they return to their country. So they're allowed to stay here under the supervised status, and that is something they're selecting and picking those to revoke that status, then go to their court hearings. So the person doesn't even know the status has been revoked. To me, that sounds like entrapment, like police entrapment, that you're not even, you're being baited into this situation and not given a chance to even have any kind of recourse whatsoever ahead of time. There's no knowledge ahead of time that you need a lawyer. And to me, that seems like entrapment, but I'm not a lawyer, so I would think someone else had thought of this by now, but
No, but that's the modus operandi of ICE today, right?
Yes.
They are going to places of work where they know the undocumented immigrants are very likely to be there. I mean, look at the cause of the protests in LA is all because of that. They went and targeted specific factories and shops that they knew would have a propensity for undocumented immigrant workers, and they raided those things. And this is a criminal activity of ICE today.
But yes, whatever you can do, if you can do protests, if you can call people, if you can any attention you can bring to Yuriy, would be very helpful. As we watched Rachel Maddow last night, I don't know if you saw her show or not. Yeah, where she was saying that people were returned because stories went out, people were out protesting,
yes.
and they knew who this person was. So whatever you guys can do, and I imagine you're as busy as we are planning for June 14th too. So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
Well, thanks for bringing it to our attention.
You truly are a good neighbor, as you're. You are a great neighbor, and we will celebrate Yuriy's return together.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so.
Thanks. All right. Thank you, everyone.